Hey all, welcome to Labs Weekly number 7. Myself, Dan, Adam, and Mitch are on today, and since a lot of conferences over the last few months have either been canceled or delayed or pushed out to the fall or even went virtual, and with the announcement of BlackHat and DEF CON going fully virtual, we thought it'd be a good idea just to have kind of a, hey, let's reminisce a little bit about some of our favorite conference experiences. So we wanted to chat kind of a little bit. I've gone to a lot of conferences over the years, and my first real Black Hat DEF CON experience, I guess, it was either 2008 or 2009. I can't fully remember, but that year, one of our co-founders, Arshan Dirisiagi, was speaking. He was talking about Java Snoop. And that year, he introduced me to Sammy Kamkar. And from that relationship, Sam was like, hey, you guys need to meet Matt Austin. And so Arshan and I did an interview on the spot of Matt Austin. And, he pretty much came on board at the time Aspect Security. And Matt was with Aspect and pretty much with Contrast since day one too. So I've worked with him for quite a few years now. So it was really kind of neat to, see how that networking side of the conferences kind of, fell together. Not only that, but I learned really quickly that Sammy was a really big fan of, there was this, this was back when it was in Caesar's Palace, and there was this little shop in one of their shopping areas that sold these big old tubes of alcohol, really fruity. I swear we went there 3 or 4 times one day. It was like, holy moly. I mean, and those of you that might know Sammy, he's not a very big guy, right? He's a little dude, but we were definitely having fun. So that's one of my, earliest memories of the Black Hat DEF CON scene was just like, hey, I met some really smart, really awesome people. I don't know, Dan, Adam, do you guys have anything that kind of rings a bell along those lines?
Yeah, DEF CON was, my college group went to DEF CON every year. And when I went back to school, and they were planning a trip later that year, and I kind of just decided to go and tag along. And it was probably the first time I really felt like, hey, this is really where I want to be with my future. I used to be a structural engineer, and in 2009 I was laid off, and I thought, I got a job as a developer, and I was working as a developer, and I thought information security really sounds fun. And that's kind of how I wanted to reinvent my career. And so I started going back to night school to get a master's degree in cybersecurity. And DEF CON was the first time I felt like this is what I want to do with my career, because it was so much fun. It was great to meet all kinds of people and to talk to them about my interests and, share our interests. And then just every year after that, going back was just a ton of fun. Some of my favorite memories were trying to sneak into parties when the big illustrious parties. I remember Amazon had a party on the roof of Caesar's Palace in one of their exclusive clubs. And I just said, I'm going to walk right past their check-in desk and just act like I belong. And so I just walked right past, and someone yelled, hey, you. And I thought, oh, I'm busted. So I turned around and they said, don't you want your badge? And they gave me a badge to the party. And I walked in with the Amazon badge and got to, go get free drinks and free food and mingle. And that was a ton of fun. And just the entire culture, how they promote that kind of atmosphere. I remember, I think it was when it was at Paris and Bally's, they were having goons actually monitor lines because they couldn't fit the number of people who wanted to see talks into their rooms, which was, was a real downside of the popularity exploding. But I found it a way that you could go into a back hallway where the service workers all like drove around and enter rooms from the back hallway. So I got into every talk, which I thought was awesome. And like nobody at DEF CON would bat an eye at that kind of thing because it was just accepted culture. And yeah, that was definitely the first time. I'm real sad that it's, you know, going virtual this year. It probably won't be the same. I know that for me and others, a lot of it was, you know, the experiences.
Yet the worst is like trying to get up to Sky Talks and having to queue into the elevator, and it's just like you gotta wait forever,
Yeah.
and the hallways are just smashed. David, I found you some drinks, by the way. Uh, these are, these are the ones you're talking about. Those are awesome.
Those are definitely the ones I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. we we'd go down to like old Vegas, and Fremont Street, and get those boots with, it's like 20 shots of liquor in it, and like mix it with whatever whatever you want, and just mess around at the old rigged casinos with like 2-ball roulette, which doesn't make any sense because it destroys your odds. There's no way that you can, like, when you win big, but like, it's impossible to win playing numbers really well. But I mean, for me, a lot of the talks ended up being, catch the virtual recap anyways. I went to so few talks just because of the amount of time that you have to stand in line and probably be in the back of the room. And I really only went to talks if it seemed like it was something super interesting, or it was somebody that I knew, and spent most of the time honestly just hanging out with friends and going to the parties. And that's the biggest thing I'll miss for sure, is just seeing all your friends in the same place and getting to hang out. And if you know me, I mostly like to work with friends, do business with friends, and so, which is great because it makes business networking is just hanging out with friends, and it doesn't really feel like working most of the time. So I feel really fortunate for that, and definitely going to miss being able to see everybody at Hacker Summer Camp.
Yeah. And one of the things that I liked, in addition to seeing the friends, is that everybody had something that they could become a part of. There was a community for everyone. There was contests for everybody. I remember last year we did a CTF in David's hotel room for a while. That was a ton of fun. He was flush with cash after his big casino winnings, and was decided to sign up for a CTF, and that was a lot of fun, just sitting around and working on that. And I know that I think I've done that. I think I've done the packet capture contest, but there's even the aluminum foil hat club and all kinds of fun stuff to learn and do. And they're making new villages every year. Last year was the first time they had the AppSec village at DEF CON, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year was one of my favorites because we had Adam and I hadn't been at Contrast for too long, less than 6 months, around 6 months each, and so we were still building the team, and Matt Austin was there, and I think at the time we were, Dan Amodio was talking to us about coming over, and so he was out there too. So it was neat to kind of get the group together, and obviously win a little money playing Let It Ride. But that was definitely a highlight of it. But some of the other conferences too. I've got a lot of I've been to plenty. I love LASCON, which is an application security focused conference put on by the OS chapter of Austin in Texas, and I've gone for a number of years, and one thing one thing I won't ever forget is their food is amazing. I'm really hoping that they have it this year. It's I think October, November, or something like that. CFP is open now, but their food is just fantastic. But there was one year I was there, and I was working for another company, and we went down with there's 3 or 4 of us, and we relied on our HR leader to book us a rental car. And so I went to pick up the rental car, and I shit you not, it was the smallest car I'd ever seen in my life. I mean, I'm a 6'3" big dude, right? I mean, another guy I was with is at least 6'1", the other one's like 6 foot. We didn't exactly fit in the car, right? And so it's like, to this day, we're always joking about the clown car that we had to ride in from our Airbnb to the conference itself. So, that was fun. Another conference I've always tried to look at attending is AppSec EU. They usually have it in some pretty amazing places in Europe. And I spoke at AppSec.
And there he goes. I think we lost him.
4 years ago, something like that, like 2017. And that was really neat because the speaker dinner was just really cool. It was they had it at they call it the Hollywood of Italy or something like that. And so they bussed all the speakers from the hotel over there, and it was all like stage set up. It was just really neat. I mean, conferences really do a good job. So I can imagine how hard. I can't imagine how hard it was for BlackHat just to say, oh, we're going virtual, with the amount of time and people and effort and money that's involved to putting together all the different things that go on during a conference. It's flabbergasting.
I think in Labs Weekly #1, we talked about taking KernelCon virtual, and KernelCon is a small 500 person conference, and BlackHat and DEF CON with these numbers in the tens of 20s of thousands of people. I can't even fathom the amount of work and effort that went into that. It's definitely, a rough year for conferences, but it's important to remember, like, it's going to get better. And when it does, like, make sure to support your community.
Yeah, I would say I'm fairly virtualed out right now. So I'm really itching to get to a physical conference, see my friends, see the community, do the hallway con, kind of thing like Dan was talking about. That's where you get the tidbits of stuff, of new things, and talk about the things people are working on and work on CTFs and, some of that fun stuff. You can always go watch the talks. Every year when I attend a conference or whatever, I try to pick 2 to 4 talks that I want to see live. Like these are really interesting to me. This sounds great. And I try to attend those, right? Because you can't just sit in a talk after talk after talk after talk for multiple days. You'll just get burnt out and you won't really learn much. But the hallway con itself is really where I learn the most and meet the people that, I've now known for years in the industry, who are, prominent figures. So I don't know. Anything else, guys, from a, best memories perspective? I could probably go on and on and on about different conferences, but those were the highlights for me.
Yeah, I was thinking most of my Vegas memories I don't think I can share, but hopefully next year DEF CON won't be canceled, and then you can all find me and we'll make some new memories.
Yeah, definitely. If it's on next year, come hang out with us, Contrast team, and we'll be there in force.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for attending, and we'll see you next week.
The 0-day heap will spray, clear the way. If the log file touch, get your hard line cut. Number 2, never let them know your next move. Don't you know bad boys moving silence and pirate, taken from your wireless. I done flashed mad chips with these hacks just to patch these bits. Number 3, never trust nobody. IRC is bad.